Well, hey friends and family, welcome back to Brighter Futures Farm. We're still at the suburbs, out in my garage. Last week I started a project where I was making a stool for my nephew. This week I'm going to finish this up. Still working with the contractors to try to get some estimates. We've got a couple of estimates back in, and I'm hoping that those aren't what I should expect from the rest. But I'll give you some more on that in a second. Right now I got to paint this project. You hear the fan in the background? I always get the fan going right there because I always have something being painted and something drying out here, so let's do it. All right, so I got the tractor cut out here, I got the deer, I got my buddy's name. Little guy's gonna like this, I think. One of the problems that I have with this coating, when you do fine details and you cut out the antlers of a deer, a lot of times you'll get little pieces of this flaky plastic that'll stay on your material. Like I have little bitty flecks, and they're still connected, but if I leave them there, they potentially could break off and get lodged in the paint, and then you'll have little pieces of blue plastic in your paint, which is not what you want. Or even if it stays attached and you peel it off later, it could block some paint from getting into the material, and then you should have some uneven spots on your project. So I go through with the dental pick. I got this dental pick from Harbor Freight. Go through with the dental pick, you just kind of clear out those fine areas that you're cutting, and it's pretty easy because if you finished your project with a V-bit, which I generally do, just to kind of clean up some of these smaller areas, and the V-bit will do a pretty good job of loosening everything up. This dental pick is just to break some of those stubborn pieces free. You can already kind of see the little flakes that are developing. It's kind of clean now. Alright, get the tractor cleaned up there. I think I'm going to do black tires, the wood colored rims, and then I'm going to do green for the tractor. I think my little buddy will probably like a John Deere. Alright, so I guess I'll start with brown. I haven't done brown before, so it's my first time opening this thing up. Just give myself a flathead screwdriver. This paint doesn't look brown. It looks purple, like a burgundy. I don't know, but I've got black paint, and I've used that black paint before. When it comes out gray. When you start putting it on there, it looks great, but as it starts to dry, it only takes like an hour or 2 hours before you put a second coat. But after 2 hours, it's completely black. Kind of weird. This looks purple. It's supposed to be brown. I'm not sure how we're going to go from brown to purple, or purple to brown, but let's see. Got it stirred up there, my little stir stick. It really takes no more than what was on that stick. So I did the stirring stick. I even scraped that stirring stick off. And really what was on the stick left over is what's going to go in here as the first coat. It's not very deep. I only cut it about 1/20th of an inch. So 1/20th of an inch is the depth of these letters. Super shallow. Just enough to get a little paint into. So when I peel this thing off and the paint dries, it'll pop. That's brown. Don't make a mistake. This is black. There we go. I should have got a smaller, more detailed brush. Some of this paint is kind of leaking over the edge. Try to keep it as clean as I can, but golly. Alright, so it's been a couple hours. And The paint is dry. It looks shiny, but that's just because it's glossy paint. It's actually really dry. Nothing wet. So it's ready for a second coat. I'll do a second coat. Well, it's only been a couple of hours, but I'm pretty impatient, so just keep on out here. The big ones I should be able to peel right off. The little ones I'll have to get in there with a dental pick. I didn't sand these pieces, which I'll have to, but I'll sand them once everything is completely dry. I just wanted to kind of get this stuff off here. One, so the paint doesn't make it stick too much. The paint sticks and it grabs a hold of this plastic in some of those places. It won't let it go. It'd be hard to pull off. Look at that. There's one little piece there on the A. I will have to go with the dental pick, but it should come right off. Look at that. Came right off. Looks pretty good. Didn't turn out too bad. That's how the tractor came out. And the tractor, because it was on a seam, had two pieces. So I'll have to find the one that was on top. I think it was the one here on the left. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Now I'll let those sit for a couple of days. Actually, probably just like 24 hours. And I'll put them over in the fan. So the fan just blows on them for 24 hours, gets them nice and dry. Then I'll come through the edges here. You can see some of the edges are kind of rough. Just need to be sanded. So I'll go over those with the sander, kind of clean it up. And then once it's all clean, put some polyurethane on there. It'll look great. I'm using this potato chip box to kind of protect my little work area underneath. It's nothing too fancy. There's a little imperfection there on the deer side, only because it pulled. I have a big glob right there. I tried to take the sander and sand that glob, and then it got a little ugly, but it should clear up once I put the second coat on there. This is a semi-gloss finish, so it's not the glossy, you know, most shiny. I don't want it to be extremely shiny. But I think that looks pretty nice. All right, I'm going to put that last coat on there. All right, it's been a couple hours. You see how this thing's looking. Looks good. Try to touch. Still a little wet in the middle. I mean, not super wet, but once we get this thing all put together, glued up, and then I'm going to let it sit in here in the garage under the fan probably for a couple of weeks. So it's got plenty of time. I didn't put any glue inside the joints. I'm sorry, I didn't put any polyurethane inside any of the joints, but I imagine it's going to be kind of a tight fit. Let's see. Yep. A little tight. Before I force it in there, I'm going to put a little glue in there, because once I get it in, I don't want to get it back out. Just use a little Type Bond wood glue, a little bit right there in the joint. Alright, we got it glued and it's nice and tight. I don't want to overdo it, so I'm just going to put this little brad nail. I'm going to put a little brad nail right in each joint. It's probably overkill, I probably don't need it, but I definitely want to make sure that my man doesn't ever have to worry about a broken. There. So I cut some wood dowels, and instead of putting screws or nails in the top plate of this thing, I put some nails, some brad nails right there in the joints, but I'm going to put some wood dowels and just drill 3 holes along each rail, so 6 total, and just put these wood dowels in there. Now, all I did was get some 1/4 inch, or you can get 1/8 inch, or whatever round you want. You get like 4 foot length for 90 cents. Or you can buy a bag of these already cut, and it'll cost you like $7. So you can either get this, use a saw, and just cut the length that you want, or you can get them already cut and pay about 1,000% more. Now I just got to make some kind of stencil so that I can line up the holes and make sure that it's nice and even. Put a little piece of tape on the drill bit to make sure that I don't go down too far. Once the tape hits the top of the rail, then I know that I've gone down about 1/2 inch, and that's all I need to go down. With the stencil, just make a little indentation into the wood. I don't want to cut through the stencil because I want to make sure that I see where my mark is, where it's going to be. The good thing about the tape also is that when you get down to the bottom of the hole, or how deep you want the hole, the tape itself will fan off any of the dust that's around the hole and leave it nice and clean. Now that I got the holes drilled, I'm just going to put a little drop of glue inside of each one of these holes. Not a whole lot, because if you put too much, then the dowel will push itself up. Just enough to grab. Alright, finally got it done. It's nailed together, glued together. I think the tractor came out nice. The buck came out nice. Little man's name came out nice. I know you can hardly see it under the shadow there, but anyway, whole deal came out alright. I might put another layer of polyurethane on here in a couple of days. I'm going to let it dry like it is, but I'm going to take this downstairs. I'm going to put about a 100-pound weight sitting on top of it just to make sure that the top glues down like it's supposed to be. And then after a couple of days of sitting under that 100-pound weight, I'll pull it off, and it'll probably never come off again unless you pull it off with a saw. So let's talk about those general contractors. All right, like I told everyone before, we've emailed and talked to several contractors in our area, a lot of general contractors that have been recommended to us. So this guy is out by the farm. He's done a lot of work out there. He's got a good reputation. We emailed him the plans. He said he'd take a look at them. It didn't even give us a write-up. It didn't give us a bid on paper. Just sent us back that quote for 997,000. And then he said, "Are you serious? Do you want it written up?" And I guess he didn't mean. We called him and talked to him later. He didn't mean like, "Are you serious? Are you messing with me?" He meant, "Look, that's a lot of money. If you're serious about it, then I'll get formal and I'll write it all up, and you can take that to the bank and then request the money, do the whole lending process." But it came off as it is written is, "Are you flipping serious with this?" And it kind of made me wonder, I don't know, are we flipping serious? So we talked to a couple of other general contractors, and we put this guy on the back burner just to kind of figure out where he's at. All right, so this guy, we emailed him the plans. His comment out the door was, big house. That's a big house. It's going to be pricey. So he went ahead and warned us, like, hey, but what's weird is he wanted to know what the budget was, which is a red flag to me. It's like, hey, how much are you willing to spend on this? Like, how much can I milk out of you? So we were hesitant to give him that. He said he'd email us in a few days. We haven't heard back from him yet. I think he's probably along the lines of the first guy. He's thinking it's a big house. It's going to be a lot of money. He wonders if we have the money. I don't know. We'll see. But it was good to get a response from somebody. All right, so this guy, he is the highest recommended person in the area. Everyone says we should talk to him. It says that he is always looking for work, has a good crew. Actually, some of the folks that work with him are related to us, related to my wife. So some family members actually work with him. No one's had anything bad to say. Reached out to him, talked to him on the phone a little bit, sent him the plans, and he didn't even ask any questions. He didn't ask any questions. He just said he's going to pass. Said that he didn't want something that big. I mean, he is a little bit older, and some of his crew's a little bit older, but he was honest and said that he's not looking for something that big. And when I think that big, I mean, our house is not that big. I think when it's all said and done, it's probably 3,500 square feet, but a lot of that is open area. So this is very disheartening. So we're still waiting on a lot of bids from other contractors. We have our line out with probably three or four others. We've started looking for additional contractors, maybe ones that we hadn't thought of. Try to go through the VA and see if the VA's got anybody, because through the VA loan, they keep a list of contractors. We'll see what happens. We've gone back to the builder. So if you look at the house plan here, you can see that it's a lot shorter. So we've taken out the second floor completely, made it a single story above grade, and we've moved all the bedrooms that were upstairs down into the basement. So that's not what we wanted. We wanted that top floor, but if it makes sense, then it makes sense. Actually, now that I look at it, those windows up top above the master bedroom and the kitchen don't need to be there because there's not going to be anything there. But anyway, we'll still work with the designer. We'll get a couple of more bids, but it's a little disheartening right now. But keep us in your prayers. Thanks for following along, and see you next time.